All right, some of you guys might know that I do worm composting, which is basically taking food scraps and feeding it to worms, and the worms process that naturally, eating it and pooping it out as really good, high quality fertilizer. Some of the best fertilizer you can get, actually. So this bin here, this multi-layer bin, allows me to feed worms food scraps, and they turn that into fertilizer. So taking out the lid here, we can see this is where my worms live. These are, let's see if we can find some. Oh, that's a big one right there. Yeah, that's a big one right there. So these are European night crawlers, which are good for vermicomposting, which is what this is. So this is the top layer where, you know, I have like shredded newspaper and cardboard and food scraps. So you don't really see any food scraps because they've eaten most of it and turned it into what looks like dirt, but that's the fertilizer they're producing, their poop. If I pull off this top layer, put it aside, you can see this kind of really granular looking stuff, and there's still worms here, but this is the worm poop. So this used to be this, believe it or not. So this turns into this, and this now I can use in the garden to fertilize plants. And yeah, so pretty dope, right? So this is what I'm going to feed the worms. We have, I keep this little Tupperware in the freezer, and I just put in like apples that have turned bad, or like banana peels, lots of banana peels. Just toss these right in, and the worms will get to work. So throw these guys in here, frozen banana peels. Man, they love apples. They're gonna make short work of this. But they can go through like half their body weight in 1 week. So I have quite a few worms in here. So all my worm food is in there. I'm gonna cover it up with a little bit of this shredded newspaper that I just put through our shredder. A little bit of this. I try not to use any bleached white paper because the chlorine in that, the residual chlorine from that process, is harmful to the worms and all of the other microorganisms. I happen to have some cocoa coir, which is like this grainy material used in processing coconuts. Throw that in there, you know. I think a nice mixture of substrate is good for the worms. Give them a nice buffet. I'm gonna give all of this a spray. This should be nice and moist because worms don't have any protection against drying out. So gotta keep them nice and moist. They breathe through their skin, so if they're not moist, they suffocate. Alright, it's looking good. And the last thing I add is some ground up eggshell. So I just keep my eggshells, some of them, and I grind it up. This provides grit for the worms. The worms don't have a digestive system like us. It's actually more like a bird's digestive system. They have an organ called a crop, and the crop is a place where they will grind up their food. So they actually have to grind up their food kind of mechanically using something, and the something that they use is grit. So I'm adding some grit. So this is the grit that is gonna help them in the digestion process. And I could be wrong about this, but I believe they also lay eggs, like tiny little eggs, right? And these little eggs are, to produce the eggs, to produce healthy, viable eggs, they're going to need some calcium. So this also provides calcium for them to do that. So lots of grit in the form of eggshell. This could also just be dirt, by the way, but think the calcium's a good source of that. And that's it. Worms are fed for the next few weeks. Happy Thanksgiving, worms.